Good morning, everyone. It's Darlene from Darlene's Creative Studio. Today is day 29 of our Creative Journal Prompt Challenge. One more day and then we're done. Today we're going to be doing What Can You Emboss? Now, I did do a lot of embossing before I became on my vacation. I embossed some of this cardstock with some of my larger embossing folders with my larger Big Shot. And I did find some smaller ones. I was hoping they would fit through my Sidekick, but they do not, unfortunately, so I can't show you how they work. But literally, you buy these little folders and they have engravings on them. It's almost like a stamp. And you put a piece of cardstock inside the folder and then you put it through your Big Shot. Now, you're limited to the size of the embossing folder, and these are actually the size of the embossing folders that I used, these pieces of cardstock. So you can only use a certain size of cardstock to put through your folder because of the width of your Big Shot. So these little ones, I was kind of hoping they would fit through the Sidekick. They're just about a half an inch or a quarter an inch too wide. So I did do a lot of them in advance, a lot of these embossings, and these are some of the folders that I do have, and I just wanted to show you really quickly how to use them. So let me move this little book guy out of the way here. So what I've been doing is taking my embossing. These are very hard. I first created a little pocket here. Excuse me, I have a frog. And I did actually fold it, but I noticed that some of the embossed pieces have kind of stuck out the side here and they did tear a little. So it's very hard to score an embossed piece, and it's very hard to fold them because the embossed parts do rip and tear. So I started to do this. Now I do have, there is a wallpaper from the old days I used to buy that's paintable, and it's embossed like this. It's got a raised image. I did make envelopes like this out of that wallpaper, and they turned out really well, and it was easy to do. I have about 30 of them at home from a roll from a friend from one of our craft groups. I believe it was Liz, I think, that brought the embossed wallpaper. So I did make some of these little envelopes. But what I have been doing is just taking some of the envelopes that I have. This is a little vellum envelope that I've made out of tracing paper. It's an architectural paper. And I made these little envelopes. And I've also taken a normal envelope, you know, a mailing envelope, and this is one that I used for something else. But you can take a simple envelope like these, and this is the vellum envelope here, and then just putting the embossing paper on top of the envelope. So you could just literally take your envelopes. Now you cannot, these punches are very, very thin for the paper to go in them. So you cannot actually you can get the paper in there, but once you get it on an envelope, it's harder to punch the paper. So again, it depends on the thickness. That one just fits in there, so you can punch that one, and I did with this. But when I put this one on here, I found the embossed part was really, really difficult to get in that, and maybe it's just the envelope size, I'm not sure, but we'll try it on this envelope and see. So this one, I'm just going to, excuse me, my frog. I'm just going to glue the front of this envelope. And please excuse the loud washing machine noise in the background here. We're doing our laundry today, and it is just pouring outside, so it's not a very nice day. So it's a little darker in here than normal. I've got every light on you could possibly think of just because it's so dark in here. And then I just simply take my paper, let me just move this out of the way here, and set it on top of the envelope. And flip that over. And we're going to glue that down, and you have to be very careful not to cut the side of your envelope. So I just kind of tilt it on my scissors on a little bit of an angle so that it goes under the envelope and not cutting my envelope. And we're just going to cut this guy out. Now I did win on eBay auction a carousel, vintage film negative carousel you could watch your film slides in. And I was hoping it would arrive today for this video so that I could show you what I was going to do with my prompts to make it into a rotating carousel. I was going to decorate it and all that, but I did not receive it in time. So I'm hoping if it comes today, I can add it to the end of the video. If not, maybe tomorrow. But see, I think this envelope is just a little too thin. Oh, maybe, let's see. It just fit in. Let's see if I can punch it. There we go. Yay. So there is one way of using your embossing papers. You can make them into journaling cards and everything, but because they're embossed, they're a little bit rougher to write on. But I just thought this would make a nice way of using them without having to fold them and ruin the embossing image. Now, for these types of envelopes, you can use, again, the embossing. Now, this particular one, I did take my distress ink and I did kind of run over the image a little bit just to bring it out because it's so white. I was trying to make it a little more vintage looking. Let me get out of the way. So you can actually just gently, and I'm doing it very gently, I'm not pushing down on my brush, I'm just letting the brush rest on the images, and I am embossing, rubbing my brush with the distress ink on top of that embossing, and it just makes it come alive a little bit more. So there, I've done that, and then we're going to glue this one to the front of this envelope really quickly. And I'm just trying to use up my Fabri-Tac glue. It's almost done, and I want to try and use it up. I don't want to have to take a half-empty jar home. So I'm going to use this guy up as much as I can. Okay. And then we take our embossing folder and we're just going to set that right on top, and I usually go right to the top and then I don't worry about the sides because I can trim it down if I need to. There we go. I'm just going to glue that on. So I'll take our scissors and trim it down. This. And there we go. And then I'm going to grab my oval punch because this one's a little bigger. I'm hoping this will work fine with this one. And I'm just going to put my oval punch in there. And I'm lining up the arrows and I'm eyeballing the center. So this amount on each side is the same. And I'm punching that. There we go. So there's that piece. Now you can take a piece of the embossing paper if you like and put it right across the front there, but then again you'd be hitting it with your card, sliding it out. So a simple piece of paper. Just grab my scrap bin here real quick. A really small piece of paper. For some scraps like this, say you can just glue that to the inside to cover that. So let's do that. A little bit less, and then that would slide in there, and I normally put it in place and then add a little bit of glue, and we can use our, because I like how small our tip is. It's in place, and I'm just going to lift it up and add some glue in there, and you want to do it right along the edge of the envelope like that, and then I'm just going to pull that piece of paper into place like that. Lid back on my glue. There we go. And then to glue it down. So now you don't see that the blue of the inside of the paper, and you've created a little envelope, and then when you glue this in onto your page, this part of the envelope won't show. So there you go. There's another way. And then I'll do one more with this clock. Maybe not the clock, maybe this guy. Now this one was a sample one that I was using, and I actually have glued the side of the envelope closed because I had cut it. It was a little bit bigger. It was actually going this way. But again, you can use any type of envelope. You just have to glue this to the front. And this can become a nice pocket. I'm just going to show you a way of layering your pockets here. Let's put this guy on here. Like that. Nice and straight. And again, we'll trim this out. I just want to see how wide this envelope or this piece was. So it was 5.5. Okay. And I'm just going to show you how you can add a second layer to your envelope to make it 2 pockets. Okay, so we'll cut that out. So we've got that pocket there. And then we need another piece. Let's save that one. And we want it to be about, that's fine. But we only want it to, if I wanted a pocket to show, say about 1.5 inches maybe. Yeah. So I'm going to make this a 3-inch strip. I'm just going to cut it on my cutter. Okay. So there's our 3-inch strip, and then I'm just going to score the sides. So I'll get my scoreboard here. And I probably won't need this whole piece. But let's just start with this side here. So I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch. And fold that in. And then this piece here is 4 3/4. So I've got my fold in there already. Let me just move this over. I've got my fold there already. So I'm going to go 4 3/4 inches. And then I'm going to fold this piece in. And I just want to make sure that's going to look right. You don't want it to be wider than your other envelope. Okay, so that's perfect. And I'm just going to give it a little bit more. Okay, and let's trim this guy down. Excuse me. And then I'm going to go down 1.5 inches. Make a mark there. 1.5 inches there. And I'm just going to cut across that flap 1.5 inches. That's how much I wanted sticking up above my pocket. And then, excuse me, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut this on an angle right up to that fold, to the score line. So you're going to end up a piece like this. Okay? And then what you're going to do, if you want to add your paper punch, let's do that. Let's find the center. We'll do it by centering it. This will be the best way, I think. So 4 3/4 is 2.5, right about there. I'm just going to make a little tiny mark. I'm going to center my punch over that mark. Get in there. Okay, so just a little tiny one. And then what we're going to do is this pocket is going to slide inside this one, down to that, oh I forgot this one was glued. Alright, that's alright, we can pull that up in a bit. So we're going to slide that envelope in, right down to your 1.5 inch mark. Right there. So now when you put this in your book, you will have a pocket that goes here, And then you'll have another pocket that goes the whole length of that pocket above. And again, you're going to punch your little punch there. So let's do our center line flat. So it's going to be 2, so right about there. So that little black dot, and we're going to go down. Oops, make sure I get it on straight. Right there. So there you go. You've got a double pocket, and you will, when you glue this down onto your page, you will also glue these little flaps, and you will glue it onto your, what can I put it on here so I can show you better here. Let's grab an envelope here so you can see what I'm talking about. So then I'm going to glue this whole back piece on and those 2 little flaps down, and that will get glued onto the page like so. And you'll have your pocket here. But because you've added the flaps, you've given yourself a little bit of room to add something, and it will go all the way down to the bottom of that pocket. Okay? And then this one as well. So you could add more layers on top if you wanted to have another layer above this one. You do the same thing. You cut your 3-inch strip. You make it an inch wider, so you have 1/2 inch flaps. Then you cut it halfway down, so at 1.5, so you'd have 1.5 inches showing above this. So you'd have another layer here, another pocket, and then you'd also have that whole length of the pocket that slides down behind. So this one and this one. And that's a great way of using your embossing pieces without actually having to fold them or score them, because it does ruin the embossing and it doesn't work very well. And then if you try and make journaling cards as well, now you can decorate them and layer them in your collages, but I just find that if you bend them too much or crease them too much, it does actually ruin that embossing image. It kind of gives it a crease, or it gets it to pop out a little bit. So if I was to fold this, see how it just tore that flower? It just doesn't like to be folded. So, and this is cardstock, so this is a heavier paper, so a thinner paper probably wouldn't do very well either. I'm going to create one of those double envelopes using this little envelope that we created with the embossing. I've grabbed one of my craft envelopes, and I'm going to put this on top of the envelope and create 2 more tiers, so a 3-tier pocket. And I just grabbed some scrap paper out of my bag. So we're going to measure the envelope width, which is 4 1/8. So I want to cut these strips to 5 1/8 because I want the 1/2 inch on either side, and they only have to be 3-inch strips. So this works out well, and then I just have to cut it to the 5 1/8. And then what you're going to do is, and I've already done this, you're going to score your lines at 1/2 inch, and I'll do this one really quickly. So let me cut this one down to 5 1/8. And just show you really quickly what I've done. I've taken my paper and I've put it in my scoreboard, and I've scored it at 1/2 inch on either side, like that. Let me fold it over. We again mark that 1.5 inches down on both sides from the same end, so the same size flap there. You're going to cut it at the 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches, and then you're going to cut it on an angle right up to the score line. You want to be on the inside of the score line, like that. And then you measure the middle, which would be 4 1/16 or 2 1/16. And then you just take your punch, and what I did was I did both of my scraps together. I had both of my pieces. Where are they both? And then I just put them together like that, and I punched them together so that they would have the exact same location of the thumb punch. And I just measured the center, layered them on top like this, So the top one had the mark, and I put them in and punched them. So there, those are my 2 pieces cut with our little flaps. And then I have this craft envelope. I'm going to take a book page. This is an old book that I had, and it had some nice coloring to it, some weathering and whatnot. And I've cut it to the size of this envelope. So this envelope is 5 1/4 by 7 1/8. So I'm going to cut it by 7 by 5 1/8, which I've done. And it's going to sit inside the envelope like that. And I'm going to glue that on. And I just distressed the one side that didn't have as much weathering. I just took my distressing and added a little more color there and across the bottom where I cut it off. And I'm going to glue this on to my book page, or my craft envelope. And again, we'll use up this Fabri-Tac. It's getting thick too. It's really getting harder to ooze out this Fabri-Tac glue because it's older. You want to make sure you get right to your corners like that, sitting there. And I'm going to place this on my envelope like that. Okay, and then we're going to set our envelope onto the book page. And we're just going to put this together. So we're going to slide that first piece in and fold your flaps in like that. And then we're going to slide that second piece in and fold your flaps in. And that's going to be the height of your pocket. Just move that out of the way. Move that out of the way so you can see it. And then I've got a little bit of words here. So what the bottom piece that I cut off of the book page was plain. So I'm actually just going to distress, oh, that's already distressed actually. I'm just going to distress a little bit more, that one edge. And then all I'm going to do is take my scissors and I'm just going to cut a little tiny strip here. And I want to cover those words because I don't want those showing through the bottom of my page here. So we'll just trim that off. And I'm going to glue this piece onto the bottom. Right there. Just to cover up those words so we don't see them from the bottom of our envelope. There. Okay, so now we're going to position our envelope. See, now we don't see those words at the bottom. And we're going to position this in place. Make sure it's all nice and tight. And then I'm going to remove these 2 pieces, and this is where I'm going to put my pocket. And I'm just going to make a little mark on the sides with my pencil, just a slight mark so I know where I want it to be placed when I glue it down. And I'm just going to make sure my pocket is nice and round here. I've rounded out the edges of my, edges of my pocket, corners of my pocket. And we're going to glue this guy down right up to the edges, the whole thing on the back. Okay, so let's place this one in place. There's my marks. And I'm just eyeballing it to make sure that it's centered on either side. And we're going to put that down. Now I can't use my brayer because it'll flatten my embossing. So we're going to do it that way. And then all we're going to do is add some glue to the side flaps. You can use double-sided tape if you like. I'm just going to add my flaps in there. And this one slides into the envelope right down to that 1.5 inch mark, and then you're just going to push down on your flaps like that. And the same for the top one. going to slide that in right down to that 1.5 inch. Get in there. Right there, and then you're going to push down on that. So there are your pockets in there. And now you can add a label if you like. Let's just see if I have any labels. I don't know if these will fit, but you could add some kind of a label to the front here for each of these pockets. Maybe not that one, maybe this one. And you can have a different card inside each of them, like that. You could even do a smaller one. But that way, when you slide your card in, you're going to have, let me just move this out of the way here. You're going to have this pocket. That's the size of your pocket, so you can have a card in there. You've got another one that will slide all the way down. So you have another large one, and then at the back, you can slide another one, and it will go, hopefully, it will go all the way down to the bottom, that length of a card. And you can put a little tab on the top of your card, so once it's in this pocket, when it goes all the way down to the bottom, you can make it even and then just have a tab sticking out the top of your piece of paper there. So that's just a quick way of making a triple pocket. I'm going to go ahead and add these on there just because I like these labels. Okay, so let's slide that guy in there. And it's just going to tuck under that. There's one. And there is my other label. Like that. And this is on the back of an envelope. So now you can glue this in under your page. If this was your page, you could glue it underneath and have a flap and it would lift open. And then you could decorate this side and put something on inside there. Or you can have it on top of your page. So if that was your page, and then you would just get another piece of paper and cover your page, and that would cover the flap. Like that. So if that was your whole page, it would cover that flap. And it would be tucked under the paper, so you glue this down before you glued on your main page paper. And then that would just lift up. And then you could decorate this side as well and have your tuck spot there. And you can decorate right up to the V and then just punch your little oval hole there. And you could still get into your pocket, but you could cover the whole inside of that book page. So that's just another tri-fold pocket, and we've used some of our embossing papers as well. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you tomorrow for our final day. Thanks so much for watching.